Yusuf Erim is a Turkey analyst at the television station TRT World. Thank you for speaking with us on France 24. There was a key prelude to this summit taking place, you might say. Back on August the 31st, just 8 days ago, Turkey putting what used to be called the al-Nusra Front on a terrorist list, which, when you think back to the beginning of the civil war in Syria, marks a remarkable about-face.
Well, it was a very important step by Turkey placing the HTS Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, designating them as a terrorist organization. It showed that Turkey's willing to take steps to address Russia's concerns, Iran's concerns, and the Assad regime's concerns. And it actually made me very hopeful that the Tehran summit would have bared more fruit. I thought the summit was very underwhelming. I expected some more concrete steps to be taken. We basically saw Erdogan call for a ceasefire in the negotiation part of the summit, which many said wasn't supposed to be televised. And we saw Putin shoot down Erdogan's call for a ceasefire, which was kind of interesting. Now, we can see that there are disagreements between the three sides, but we also have to remember that these three sides share many interests besides Idlib. They do need each other.
They do need each other, but many of those rebel groups are backed by Turkey. So was it a mission impossible getting them to agree?
Well, we shouldn't say they're backed by Turkey. At the moment, Turkey is providing safe haven for them because they would be attacked by the regime, and Turkey's trying to stop a humanitarian disaster. Now, we have to realize that there's 2.9 million people in Idlib. Every time the Rouhani administration, the Assad regime keeps saying there's terrorists in Idlib, there's terrorists in Idlib. The most important thing that I was hoping that would have come out of the summit was a direct classification of who are terrorists, who are acceptable opposition. Now, everyone can't be a terrorist. You can't have 2.9 million terrorists in Idlib. There needs to be a classification. There needs to be a line drawn between acceptable opposition, and then there needs to be a line drawn between dangerous terrorists that need to be isolated and need to be taken out.
Before the civil war began in Syria, there were an estimated 900,000 people living in Idlib province. Now, as you say, it's closer to 3 million. Among those, it's estimated could be some 50,000 people in arms. Is it a humanitarian problem, but moreover, a security problem for Turkey with many hardline radicals who could be coming across the border?
It is a problem. Now, Turkey has about 3.5 million to 3.7 million Syrian refugees and 4 million to 4.5 million total refugees. Erdogan stated specifically, Turkey is at maximum capacity. They're shutting the door. They're not going to take any more refugees in. And when we look at the previous 3 de-escalation zones that fell, whenever these de-escalation zones fell, everyone went to Idlib to seek refuge. There isn't a second Idlib. Where are these people going to go? So obviously, it's a huge concern. There's also a huge concern for Europe. Later on in the month, Erdogan's going to be meeting with leaders from France and Germany as well, along with Putin. So I'm assuming that's going to be one of the main areas of concern for the EU, as if there's going to be an all-out assault or a major offensive. How is Europe going to stop these migrant flows? How is Europe going to provide support for Turkey in dealing with more migrant flows? And where are all these people going to go? It's very important because
could there be a grand bargain between Erdogan and Putin, and maybe it's already in place, which is effectively, look, in the past, we had backed the Sunni fighters who are now in Idlib province. We're willing to give that up, and in exchange, you back us as we take on the Kurds.
Now, Putin and Erdogan are both pragmatic, and I believe the chances of them two reaching a deal are better than Erdogan and Rouhani reaching a deal. Because like I said, there's a lot of shared interests between Russia and Turkey. You have the nuclear power plant deal, you have the S-400 deal, you have many other things. So Idlib, while it's important, there's many other things that neither leader wants to sacrifice. So they're willing to cater to each other's concerns. One of the very important things that President Erdogan said at the summit is he recognized Putin's concerns about Aleppo, and he said that maybe we can work together to transfer control in that region to more moderate groups. So we see Erdogan wanting to work together with Putin. We see Erdogan designating the HTS as a terrorist organization, which is something that was very important to Putin. And Erdogan has also addressed that the YPG is a big concern to him. And although Putin did not go on the record today of talking about the YPG, Putin is very disturbed by America's presence in the northeast and east of the Euphrates. So these are both areas that both leaders could work with. I believe that Erdogan is hoping to maybe strike a deal for a limited offensive where the southwestern and maybe the northwestern sides of Idlib could be transferred to the Assad regime, where they can isolate HTS, they can isolate Huras al-Din, they can isolate the Turkestan Islamic Party, the main three parties that Assad, Rouhani, and Putin view as a threat. And maybe a deal could be cut in along those lines, and something where a mass exodus out of Idlib won't be sparked, because refugee crisis is in nobody's interest. It's not in Assad's interest. It's not in Rouhani's interest, not in Putin, Erdogan, or the EU's interest.
Yusuf Erim of TRT World, many thanks for joining us from